Welcome to Go Home Heat, a wrestling podcast. We are going to be going through a wrestling podcast today. We're going to talk New Japan. We're going to talk AEW Dynamite. We're going to have Jared here. We're going to have Ray here. And we are going to be talking about Impact by myself for a minute because Jared didn't have a chance to watch it. He was enthralled in a lot of wrestling because due to the hurricane, we wound up not seeing some of what happened the week before. So he watched all of the weekends of G1 and then the G1 Classic with New Japan, and then turned around and watched all of the AEW content, which is a lot when you consider what they do on YouTube as well. Okay, so Impact starts out with Chris Bay, and I'm going to go through Impact quickly, and then we're going to get Jared in here, and we're going to talk the rest of it all. Chris Bay versus Trey Miguel versus TJP with Raju, and Trey Miguel wins a great match. Then Raju sees what happens and immediately has them do the title match because that was a number one contender match, which is clever because Trey had just had a battle. He rolls him up nice and quick for the win, and all of that work by Trey Miguel leads to nothing, which is what happened with him in the world title picture as well. At some point, they have to reward this guy for all these great matches, but it isn't coming today. But that's how you get baby faces over, right? They struggle, and then they go over. Eric Young comes out, gives another one of these killer, I'm here to mutilate, maim, destroy everything in sight. All of this is everybody else's fault type stuff, and it went over real well. Tennille Dashwood awakens from her slumber as we have an announcer ready to interview her, but she is cut off by Tennille's personal cameraman, and it looks like in some way protect her, as we have to protect Tennille's beauty sleep. She has a match later today, and she was willing to push through the agony of answering the door and basically telling the lady to go away. Anyway, Tennille's the goods. Okay, the Virtuoso Kimberly, the Virtuoso Deanna Prazo escorts Kimberly to the ring in a match with Susie, also escorted by Kylie Ray. Very good match here. This is one of the better matches we've seen Susie in since this version of her is not Su Yung. But she's beginning to morph into Su Yung, the undead bride, and so we're getting to see more of that moveset in her matches, which is helping. Purrazzo accidentally hits Kimberly, and Susie winds up finishing her off with Su Young's finisher. Deanna attacks Su Yung, and you can see her really starting to transform now. That sounds so crazy to talk about this like this, but anyway. And then Kylie Ray kicks the old girl's head off, and Kylie Ray lets Purrazzo know that there will be a title match because she's the number one contender at Bound for Glory. And then Susie switches. Susie stands behind her twitching, as we know soon she will transform into Su Yung. Maybe freaking out Kim. I can't see Kylie Ray not being the champion in this company. I feel like that has to happen soon, but then Purrazzo just got the belt. So maybe Su Yung flips to Susie. Maybe Susie flips into Su Yung somehow and freaks out. You know, some kind of shenanigans to keep her off the belt for a little bit. And now the gang's all here. Welcome Jared. Welcome Ray. The next portion of our Impact show, Heath lets us know why he wants to work at Impact, and it's partially because Rhino is an endangered species. Heath can protect him. David Hasselhoff comes in and says hire Heath. Flava Flav gives it hire Heath. Nancy Kerrigan of gold medal fame, who got bludgeoned in the knee, again is all about Heath. Chuck Norris makes a guest appearance. All of this really happened on Impact Wrestling this week.
Yes. Thank God for the power of cameo.
Well, it's just kind of amazing that any of those. Who in that company knows David Hasselhoff? Does Heath actually know these people?
No, I'm going to assume it's the whole cameo thing where you can pay people to say stuff.
Right. They picked an odd group. Hasselhoff, Flavor Flav, Nancy Kerrigan, and Chuck Norris. Wow. Yeah, so anyway.
They must have been pretty cheap.
Hashtag Heath for Impact. The Rascals will face the Good Brothers later. AJ versus Bully Ray in the replay match. And this is the one we watched.
Yeah,
yes.
there's one.
Oh my God, with the chops.
Yes.
One,
yeah, where they pull up the floor. And
Bro.
yeah, it was a great match. Great match. Yeah, and so if you get a chance to go to, what is it, Impact Plus?
Impact Plus, I think.
They have all these old Impact matches.
The website's actually kind of trash because it does lag a lot, and you actually can. You have to use the keys to go down and up, and it's like
it's an odd design.
It's very jarring.
But the content.
The content's great. They have a
really
lot
good.
of great matches on there. Now the other thing is too, if you do want
it's great
to,
because you can skip through the certain eras of TNA that were not as great.
If you do want to
watch
though,
all the Sting.
Exactly.
Yes. If you want to watch the acts, if you do watch
The only
Impact,
thing TNA is good for
after Impact's weekly show, they give you 60 minutes of. They'll pick a wrestler and give you, 4 of their best matches, which is pretty cool. It's called Impact in 60 or something like that. It's pretty cool.
Best of.
Yes. EC3, again, control your narrative. Cell phones control narratives. He gives out Moose's cell phone number to the public and says, give him a call to control his narrative. Moose, I'm sure, appreciated that.
Yes.
Rosemary and Taya are talking, and they need to help one another to get through these things. And Taya is all in on helping, which leads me to believe something is in the works that we don't see coming. Bravo's groomsman, Falaba, Alaya, whatever the name of Eddie Edwards' wife is. Aaliyah. Tommy, the Deaners, both Deaners, Crazy Steve and Swinger are there. And Swinger volunteers that he's able to help in all aspects of this because he is also a landscaper, which is good. And
I mean, it's good to have like a diverse skill set so you can fall back on stuff.
Aaliyah doesn't understand why she's there at all because she's not a man to being a groomsman, but it's whatever.
A groom's person.
Yes. Myers is big mad. He flips over chairs, and Dreamer goes from telling these guys they need to have a match, in which Bravo says, no, we're not going to have a match because this is not actually Wrestle House. This is like my talking to my groomsmen, which him being the voice of reason seemed odd. But as Myers is throwing things around, Dreamer comes in and points out, look, this isn't that place you used to work. We behave like adults. We all like it here. You're going to need to pick all that up. To which Myers says, I will pick all this up, but next time you see me, no matter where it is, you need to walk the other way. Because I'm not that little kid you signed to that other company years ago. I'm a grown man. After he just finished
who are they talking about?
After he just pitched his hissy fit.
Yes, I'm a grown man.
I'm a grown man.
Who are they? What's this other company? I don't know. It's very subtle.
All Japan.
And
yes.
And then EY begins to beat up the Deaners backstage. Cody Deaner winds up getting roughed up pretty good. We get a pile driver. We get more and more. And as Eric Young, the champion, is screaming for Scott D'Amore to come out because this is all his fault and it won't stop until you come out. Eventually D'Amore comes out, gets backed into a corner. Eddie runs out and kind of backs him off. And then they get backstage. And Eddie tells Scott that he can end all of this if he can have his rematch, which, of course, he will get the rematch. RVD versus Sami Callihan. And if RVD wins, Katie Forbes gets 5 minutes with Sami in a wrestling format.
Beat him up, I
Something,
guess.
Yes. And, of course, RVD does win. But the second round of the fighting doesn't go quite like they had planned because they take a little too much time between getting the chairs out and the 5-star frog splash, which means Sami hits RVD in the head with a chair and then puts a vicious pile driver on Katie Forbes, which was exactly how I saw all this going.
Yeah. Yeah. I could kind of see that one coming.
Yeah, right. I didn't know how we were getting to her taking that pile driver.
But absolutely.
I knew we were getting to her taking that pile.
100%.
Right. Ace Austin and Madman Fulton want a shot at the title. The North says no. We're the ones who deserve this shot. Then we will move on to what would be the main event of the evening. Tenille Dashwood, fresh off of her nap, versus Jordani Grace. And this is a really good night of in-ring performances on Impact. All the wrestling matches were good. And this was really, really good. Grace is very good. And Tenille is very good.
Yes.
Now, Caleb is the name of the photographer who also makes sure that Tenille is unbothered during her naps. And he does wind up distracting Jordani Grace, who then Tenille gets the double drop kick to the head for the win. And I don't know what they're doing with Jordani Grace right now. And this is an issue I think we have with Impact and to some degree with AEW when I see them sign people. I think it transcends both shows in that I'm sure that in order to get a free agent to sign, because WWE tends to, in theory, sign people for more money.
Yes.
So to have people walk away, either A, they have to be very frustrated, or B, they have to want some form of a promise.
Yes.
And when you keep bringing, like Tenille's been with the company, but by the same token, she could go somewhere else pretty easily. So you wind up seeing, like, Grace, to me, when she was fighting Taya a while back, and the journey was going for her to be the champion, I thought she's the future of the company.
Yes.
I still think she's the future of the company.
Yes.
Peraza signs a contract, walks in, she's got the belt right away. Kylie Ray comes in after supposedly being with AEW. She's your number one contender. Tenille comes back. She's right there fixing to wrestle for the title. Where's Jordani at? And it's hard, and not that it hurts. And one great thing about Impact's women's division is they can tell stories beneath the title, which is fine. I mean, but I do take the men's division. If you're a guy in this division and you're not a newly signed, like if you're Moose,
yeah,
you're by far the best performer in the company right now. And EC3 walks in the door. He's not as good as you. Better on the stick. Not better in the ring. Not much better on the stick. You've put in your time at this company.
Yeah.
You're fixing to lose a rivalry to EC3, probably. He's going to be in the title picture. EY just walked through the door. He's really, really good. His best days are behind him.
Yeah. And now he's world champ.
He's the world champ, one day in, right? And if they sign somebody tomorrow, you're going to fall down the pecking order again. And it's the one thing I worry about when I see these guys. Like whenever I read the online stuff, AEW needs to sign him. I'm like, well, dude,
they got a lot of people.
As it is,
already,
what's Pentagon doing? Every 2 weeks he gets to wrestle.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets to be on Dark, which is fine.
We already have,
but you know what I mean.
We're having big problems with, the women's division, all this stuff, and you think more people is going to help this? Well, not like. They do.
There's
like
just a lot of really good wrestlers in the world too.
Yeah, there's also like the weird cost-benefit analysis of signing someone who was in another company. Miro being a good example of like, hey, that puts a lot of eyes on your product.
Right.
A lot of people who liked him or just anything. He shows up and it's like, wow, that's exciting. I liked Rusev. I liked seeing Rusev.
Immediate bonus points.
Yeah, you get people tuning in to watch it. And to be fair with Miro, they don't seem to like be putting him in like a major title thing.
I liked that they stuck him in the tag division to start with.
Perfectly fine with me.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because, you know what, too? I think Miro's got enough going on that he probably is like, yeah, I want to wrestle, but by the same token, I don't have to be there every week.
Yeah, like
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, dude, he's probably not even going to be like full time. Like he'll be around constantly, yeah. But like if he wants to like a lot of the time stream, make easy money like that,
dude, he could stream AEW shows.
Yes,
just talk about them.
Yes, he's entertaining and nice.
Absolutely. Right. Okay. So let's just slide on. I enjoyed Impact. I think it was fun. I always recommend it. But like I was saying earlier, for Jared, for example, when you miss a week of wrestling and then you want to catch up, it turns into AEW 4 hours. Then they did another hour show. That's 5 hours. Then you have the dark side. Okay, now you're getting on around 7-8 hours, and you got I got to catch up on New Japan. Okay, that's
it's the G1
3. That's 6. That's not.
All of a sudden
all of a sudden you're a full day in to catch up.
Yeah.
And a day is in, not a day of work, 8 hours. No, 24
full hours.
Right.
That's where I got this week. And Impact in general, I totally get what you're talking about, where it's just like they've put new people in and just hot shotted them to the top, and that has kind of like waned my interest on the product a little bit. It's not like I don't like EY, I'm just not super interested in him. I don't really have that. Like, I didn't watch him when he was younger.
Well,
you know
also
what I mean?
with Eric Young, why would he need the belt? He's like the perfect guy to just be going around hurting people that people like.
Yeah.
And being a heel. And you could have and two, you tried to give us a feel-good moment with Eddie, and then you took the belt off him a month later.
Yeah.
You tried to give us a feel-good moment with Grace, and you took the belt off for one pay-per-view later? And it's like, and I love Impact, but it's...
Yes, and I get it, and the matches were really good, and the story they were telling were really good, but at the same time, it's like, man, I really liked how Impact was before the, like, shift at whatever pay-per-view it was. What, do you remember the name of the pay-per-view?
Bound for Glory is coming, so it had to be Slammiversary.
Yes, at Slammiversary when everything kind of shifted. I really liked the stuff before, and I'm not, like, disliking the stuff afterwards, but I feel like Impact has lost a small amount of its charm to me.
It had the punk rock indie feel, and now it has a little bit of the we're utilizing. It used to be
there are points where when it constantly whines about the other company, it can be a little over much.
Well,
and
not only that, but at one time NXT was the same thing. In that, at one time you watched NXT, it was like watching college sports or minor league baseball. You were seeing somebody before they were great, or seeing a band you like in a club, right?
I have described NXT's place in wrestling used to be WWE for people who didn't enjoy WWE's product. It was basically an indie company with WWE's name. Like it. But
to your point,
Vince didn't like.
Okay,
what's the word?
We're not going to talk about Vince on this podcast.
No, but to your point, you're going back to the wrestling itself. What you're doing is you're getting, when you're watching Impact, you're watching a guy that's going to be something else. ROH is perfect.
ROH is another great example, yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're watching ROH because you're catching that kid, either you're catching the veteran on his way down teaching the young guys lessons, or you're catching that kid that's going to be a star someday.
Oh, yeah, they signed some guy hot off the indies. You're like, wow, this guy's really talented.
Right, but you know he's going to be there 4 months.
Yeah.
But he's going to kill it for 4 months. He's going to give you some 20-minute bangers, yeah.
By the way, please watch Ring of Honor because they might go out of business soon.
Well, you know what? Ring of Honor has a tournament going on now that's really good.
A lot of good things about it. I haven't actually watched it yet because I kind of don't know how to watch it, honestly. But
dude, I got it on TV out here right now.
Dude, we're going to watch it then.
Yeah. It's so crazy because they had been running these replays of different wrestlers, and I didn't know they went back to live shows because they don't do a great job of publicizing themselves.
Yeah.
And so for like 3 weeks in a row, I was just deleting whatever came up because I'd already watched them all, the little episodes. They were going through the second time around of them or something.
Yeah.
I went and I looked and I said, "Oh wow, it's a new episode." I almost deleted 3 episodes, but I didn't. We got them out there right now. Okay, let's go. Dynamite, AEW, Miro's first match. Sonny Kiss, Joey Janela, Miro, Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford. What did you think?
Kind of a mess.
I did not.
Miro immediately drops to the floor from the ring and messes up his ankle. I don't think it's messed up, but it's messed up for
the
at
Kip
least
Sabian spot where he falls headfirst on concrete.
I think he managed to rotate enough to not land on his head.
Did you hear Janela?
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, you all right?"
Right. the boom mic caught it. You okay?
Because that looked bad, but evidently Kip was okay. Miro looked like fine-ish by the end of it. Hopefully it's just...
Yeah, they wind up going over. Sonny actually looked good in the match. Everybody else was a bit
Every
off.
match that Sonny has been in for the past like month and a half, he's looked great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was maybe not quite how they wanted it to go, but it didn't end up being a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was certainly
a match.
It was. I feel like a lot of people are kind of caught up in the fact that it's Miro's debut, and they can't really notice. He
accidentally threw that dude into nowhere. Or onto my own teammate who wasn't ready to catch him.
Or head first onto concrete.
Yeah. Okay.
It was odd.
Yeah, Kingston comes out next, and he does a little shooting on WWE, the Devil, and so we may not talk about the Evil One on this podcast, but Eddie will. Eddie, and then he keeps referring to him as an entertainer, as a sports entertainer, and he said, "Stop." And so it was good. I liked it just fine. Eddie's good at this stuff, and what he was doing. Hey, we're having a random fight between two guys that have been at one time were on the same path. They're doing the rough stuff. They're doing the rough indie shows. They're beating each other up all over every bar and high school gym, all over the place, armories. Mox gets signed to NXT. Eddie goes to Impact. Eddie stays on that same track of roughhousing, doing well. LAX is good. Mox is in 2 million homes a week. But Mox is doing it sometimes being Mox, sometimes with a hot dog in his hand. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can see where Eddie, not only do you see where Eddie could be like, yeah, that's horse crap, right?
Yeah.
But you could also see where it's totally legit that he would be a little bit jealous, you know what I mean, of all that. And then with Mox coming back and being this very no-nonsense guy now,
yes,
Eddie can be like, and properly so, be like,
you were
now you're back to who you were?
Now you're back. You aren't busting out of presents.
Right. Okay, so anyway, but he did manage to turn nothing into a big fight feel in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, dude. And
which works.
So good.
Dark Order, Evil Uno versus Adam Page.
I liked this match, and I liked the commentary on this match.
Did you want to go back and say something about that?
I was just confused because we didn't say anything about it.
They didn't. No, the match is later.
No. I was talking about the Sean Kingston Moxley thing. Just kind of stated that it happened.
It was good. He was talking about how he in 3 minutes went from a match with zero build up to something that did have a interesting dynamic to it.
Yeah, absolutely. He pulled it off, and then we're gonna get it later.
I liked it.
Dark Order versus Evil Uno. No. Dark Order is Evil Uno.
Yes.
Adam Page is in the ring. What'd you think about this?
I like this match, and I like the commentary. I think Evil Uno is a fantastic worker. I think Hangman's honestly kind of I don't know, his matches have such story to them. Like his match last week with Kenny on commentary as well. He kept looking over at the beginning of the match to Kenny, just trying to catch his eye or just trying to get some sign from him. And then after the match, when he wins and Kenny just leaves before Hangman can approach him at all. I love that. It hurts me so bad, dude.
I almost felt like that part of the commentary and the walk off to me was better than the match.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
I like Page. I don't. How do I put this? I don't want to see him in matches throwing legs to referees.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because to me, he's a little. That's not his character, and it's not Evil Uno's character either. And for both of them to go for that spot, and it wouldn't have been so bad if the ref had. It wouldn't have been so bad if the ref hadn't. And I'm not killing the match, but if it wouldn't have been so bad if the ref hadn't have been 3 strides away and have to walk forward with his hands out forward, and maybe that was the way it was written, but it just looked like.
It looked a bit silly.
You didn't have to do that. You could have gone to the next move because Evil Uno to me is a bruiser. Page to me is a cowboy who wants to fight.
They could have been saying something about how they were both usually tag wrestlers, and now they're wrestling singles matches. So when you have a tag partner, I mean, Evil and Sonata both do that move where they throw the leg to the referee. Mm-hmm. Or they use the referee as part of a tag team move, stuff like that.
Right.
Because they are used to being a tag team. But I don't think it was great.
Okay, all right. Now the Young Bucks apologized to Tony, sorta.
Sorta.
We're trying to be funny here, kind of.
This was not a particularly good segment.
I did not love this segment because
you guys are in agreement about the whole show.
Okay. I was being quite nice. I actually heavily disliked this segment.
It just didn't feel like it had a purpose.
Well, okay. When he said, "Are you ribbing me?" I felt my soul cringe because it's a very personal problem. I hate it when mostly it's kind of like a cliche in wrestling now when they kind of say we're going off script and they kind of use wrestling lingo.
Yeah, it's
to
like
talk
they're
about
trying
things,
to
and it's like
they're trying to wink to the audience, like, "Hey, you're in on the joke, I'm in on the joke," and I'm like, "Well, I watched this to be entertained. I like to forget that this is a TV show occasionally."
And it's like I can suspend my disbelief until you just mention it.
Yeah.
Then he breaks Tony's.
It's just a personal problem that I have.
No, I totally get that. Where that's the thing with the Young Bucks in general to me, where they get to wink because you're a smart fan, and it's like, yeah, but I do want to watch this and be entertained on like a textual level, not just on like a meta-textual level of like, oh, I'm watching wrestling. I don't watch wrestling ironically.
Well,
I watch it to enjoy it.
If you lift the curtain up every week, there's not a curtain anymore.
Yeah, there's just not.
Right?
And there's fun ways to play with that idea, and they do occasionally, but
it doesn't need to be all time, and it doesn't need.
I feel like it needs to stop happening. It needs to happen less.
Well, the other thing is too, it doesn't. I don't think that should be a part of your shtick. You see what I'm saying? But now they do wind up breaking his phone, kayfabe, breaking his phone and giving him money to buy another one. Again,
that clearly was not enough force to break his phone. His phone was very weak.
Yeah, man, you should get a case on that, Tony. I hope you're making some good bucks. You need a case.
General point here, though, is you should not ask them about FTR.
No.
Or else, or you should. Because that was a big old wad of cash you gave him.
I need a new phone, dog.
Go over there with a fake phone. Keep your phone. Keep the cash. Orange Cassidy versus Brody Lee for the TNT title is next. What did you think about this match?
I thought it was all right. I guess Orange is just a wrestler now. Like how I've been talking about that. He's just a wrestler now.
Right.
But the thing is that he still does the shtick sometimes.
A little?
Still like...
For the first 9 seconds before he gets touched, and then it's on.
I realized that the first part of this match, I was kind of confused with what it was trying to be. Like the Orange Cassidy, they tried to play up the comedy thing again, but it's like you've literally
the cat is out of the bag.
for 2-3 months. You have been wrestling like a normal wrestler. You cannot convince me.
I did find it interesting that JR called out the horrible officiating.
Yes.
Because it was almost like, because I'm watching the show, and in each match there were just stuff with the officials. And I'm like, man, these guys, wrestling officials are notoriously bad, but these guys are terrible. And finally JR said it. I almost wonder if JR wasn't with me and like, hey, writers, or hey, whoever you are back there,
people booking matches.
I feel like
less interference.
Yeah, let's have the ref actually look like he knows what he's doing, so when he's fooled, it's okay. You know what I mean?
I feel like JR was a little buzzed and just kind of let that slip out.
No, like Jerry, even in the past, has not been afraid to like. You can sometimes hear the criticism.
Be critical of the content,
which is in a lot of cases.
I appreciate it.
He's kind of right.
Yeah, I appreciate it when he does. Yeah, I do. Now, I did enjoy the finish. I thought the discus clothesline was good. I thought the build up to the finish was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we wind up with the entire show at this point is saved because blood hits the screen.
Cody
behind him.
It's Cody Rhodes.
Then a blood hallway takes over, and out comes Dark Cody.
It's Cody Rhodes.
Dark hair, dark suit.
Dude.
And he's emo.
Garnet tie.
You say that like that look isn't great.
It looked great.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
I am completely, 100%, legitimately, extremely excited to see Cody back.
Me too.
Absolutely. I missed Cody.
He's my best friend, for God's sakes.
Yes. He's not my best friend, but I enjoy his content. I don't know. The show did feel, at least for a couple weeks, like something was missing with him because he was a big part of the show with his defenses.
And then he runs roughshod over the Dark Order. Brody escapes to the back. And I thought at the beginning of the match with Orange that he was saving, that Brody was either saving his energy or wasn't selling for some reason, whatever it was. I think he was just trying to look big. So I have to be a little tired before they start working on me or whatever. But he didn't do that great. But then once he started really getting into it later on, he was really good.
Yes.
But then I wondered, did he save all his energy for that killer promo he gave at the end when he went in the other room?
Yeah.
Talked about just... Dude,
laid into Cody.
I thought he just the foam coming out of his mouth.
He's so into his promos, which make them believable.
Right. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Just great right there. Okay. Then we had Matt Hardy's segment, which was not exactly what I thought Brody's was.
Matt does way better when he's like being kooky.
Right.
So if he just goes out as Matt Hardy, it's like, that's certainly Matt Hardy.
Yeah, right.
That's what he talks like.
But then, of course, Jericho rolls out, and he does the hardcore cussing, because Jericho's a cusser.
Oh, dude, because we're edgy on this program. We curse.
We're PG-13.
It's so funny when they say stuff, and they just let the curse word hang, and it's like, yeah, dude, that was cool on, like, the first couple episodes, when you're like, wow, we're setting the tone, but, like, it's...
Yes.
People curse in real life.
Then he winds up saying Sammy's not there, but Sammy really is there.
Well, Sammy's there.
We're going to have 30 years of Jericho, by the way. Matt says, let's get after it. Isaiah Cassidy winds up saying, no, I'm going to be the guy to fight him. And I'm really looking forward to an Isaiah Cassidy Jericho. If we could get a program out of that, that would be pretty cool. Because I think Cassidy's really good, and he could use the shine. And I don't know that this company, I don't think they have to break up tag teams to have them do that. I think they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, SCU's a good example as well.
30 years of Jericho is going to be interesting.
Yes.
Because I don't think they own any of the footage of Jericho's career.
Yeah, the weird part is that they don't.
Yeah.
Not the New Japan stuff, not any of the stuff in Japan. They might. Depending on where he worked, they might be able to get some of the stuff.
Well, on the network the other day, they added Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yes.
And that was Jericho as a kid with. So I don't know if they own. There may be a couple of Canadian companies that can buy footage on. What would be better? And I stole this idea from somebody online. I apologize to whoever you are. If they go out and do ribs on famous moments, like have a guy that comes out. And like, who in the blue hell are you? And he'd be like, or have Jericho repeat the thing where he does the 1,002 holds.
Yes.
Have that.
Or recreate these moments in video with Sammy as young Jericho.
or you could have him out doing.
You gave him the idea.
If they have somebody to debut,
yeah,
you could have him out there doing his shtick about how great he is, and then have a countdown on a clock, like the Y2J moment, and then have somebody pop out with their back turned to him with their arms outstretched and spin, and he can do the whole, like, do the Rock segment, but he's doing the Rock's part and the other guy's doing the Jericho part, right? You can do all that kind of stuff and really have fun with it.
But they do not own any of the footage.
No, they can't. They can't. Okay, and Tully announces a 20-minute brush with greatness, which was, I thought, it was awkward the way it came out of his mouth, and it was confusing, but in concept, used to be back in the day when you wrestled the champ, Ric Flair was the king of this. You'd have a match with him on TV, 20-minute time limit. Not only did you have to beat the champ in the ring, you had to do it in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And all the time, you'd have the local champ take him, have him on the ropes, pin him, 1 second too late.
Yeah.
2 seconds too late. And so then he'd come back through town and they'd do it at the Expo Hall or whatever, and he'd have another match and he'd win with some cheating with the Four Horsemen would help him or whatever. But this is a way for them to build up other tag teams in the division. Go out there and Hybrid Theory. Yes. Hybrid Theory can come out and have a good match with them for 20 minutes and then not be able to win, and then all of a sudden they're important again. You can do that to a number of teams.
Yes.
And I think it's a neat step to stick into a championship match.
It mixes old school and what made old school work into a more modern era of wrestling.
And Tully introing it is great. It just was weird.
Yeah.
He didn't get it out good. But
That's not their name.
SCU's the first crew. They're going to have to fight with this.
Yeah. Oh, and if it goes to the time limit, FTR still gets a W.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, but it makes sense
because wins and losses matter.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And the best friends come out.
Yes.
And they call them weenies, which I appreciated that. After hearing Jericho say a cuss word, and then Isaiah Cassidy doing the standard, I'm going to make you my, stop me if you've heard it before, BITCH.
Yes.
How many times do I have to hear somebody say that at this point?
Oh my God! In this company, specifically this company, people have said that often.
If you watch wrestling like we do, unless you're watching New Japan, it's every show, dude, and it's like,
okay.
Well, anyway.
But I think that was what made best friends stand out.
But saying weenies was cool.
Yeah.
It
fits with their characters. It differentiates them from the norm. It's a good move.
Now, I enjoyed the next segment. Hikaru Shida, Thunder Rosa versus Ivelisse and Diamante, and I thought this was very good.
This match was way better than the one last week.
Mm-hmm.
This was
or the week before last, the Ivelisse Rosa match.
Shida winds up winning with the knee. I felt like there was one. I can see kind of where I love Ivelisse. All right, let me rephrase that. I've always enjoyed her on wrestling. I don't know her.
Yes.
I've heard things recently that I didn't know existed about her, as far as like being tough to work with, that kind of thing. But then you saw her in this match. There was one thing where she tagged herself in and then got out there and kind of forgot what she was supposed to do and tried to leave and then come back. And first of all, I didn't even notice it, so I can't complain about it. But I do kind of see now why maybe she's not, because I was like, dude, why don't they just put a strap on her, shoot her to the moon, right? But I kind of get it more now. But I do think she's a very good worker, and I feel like when you see these four, I think that now all of a sudden you have something you can really build. I don't know why Penelope doesn't wrestle. To get her involved a little more, Big Swole, get her involved a little more. I feel like you could really give me some of that I'm getting on Impact. Not the shenanigans with undead stuff, but the wrestling I'm getting with
absolutely
Deonna Purrazzo and Kylie Ray and that kind of thing, or Grace.
I agree.
That kind of thing. I think they have the pieces to do that and to build around that right now.
I think Penelope, in addition to being in an angle where she's getting married, if they're like legit getting married, they might actually have like a honeymoon. So you don't want to like get her in a program and then like she's gone for a couple of weeks on her honeymoon.
Well, and too,
something like that.
Getting married's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to it as well, there's a lot you have to take care of in going into that.
And she is tied at the hip to Kip, and he is in a prominent thing right now, and so I get it. I just really like watching her wrestle.
Oh, dude, at some point, yes, she will absolutely have a title program where I hope at some point she gets it.
Another segment I really liked. Jericho is doing another promo, and Maxwell comes up, and they blow smoke up each other's butts till they don't. And then it turns into, why did you call me a loser? And I didn't call you a loser.
I really like this segment.
Yeah.
When
I mean, it's kind of the worst these guys can do. Like, what's the worst these guys can do?
Right. But
like, what? Like,
I love that they're kind of like half-assed explanations of like, oh, I was calling the driver a loser. I would never call you a loser.
Right. And
they're
Tony
both looking at each other right in the eyes. They're just lying.
Right. And I called Tony Schiavone a loser because what a loser Tony Schiavone is.
It's like, dude, yeah.
Yeah. Right. And dude, I like this. This was Jericho being funny without overdoing it. This was Jericho being
And he did
cool.
it without cursing.
Yes.
I really like that version of him, and I like Maxwell is a good counter to that. I like this segment a lot. And then we get Kingston versus Mox, and we have a Budokan Hall slap off, which Mox is pretty good. He don't slap like Eddie does. Eddie was lighting him up. His whole chest was beat. And you know, Mox is all in. You know, he's you can shoot with Mox. You can hit him in the mouth. You can whatever. He's all right. He'll be fine. And I thought this was really good. I had no expectations for this to be a good match. And I thought they told the story well. I thought the disrespect Eddie had for him, probably even knowing there's no way I can beat you because you're a better wrestler than I am. But
I'm going to still hurt you.
I'm going to hurt you because you walked away from what we were all about. You walked away from what real pro wrestling is. And you deserve to walk out of here bleeding from your chest.
Yeah.
You know? And I thought that went well. And Mox gets the win. And then you have a Lucha Brothers attack. And then Will Hobbs comes out. And I thought Will Hobbs getting the Moxley rub by coming out to protect him is smart. I think the internet has fallen in love with Will Hobbs due to his size and the few appearances and performances we've seen.
He's a big boy.
So let's go ahead and give him a shot in the limelight here and there, and let's see if he's capable. And I think they put him right there to do that.
Yeah.
And then you wind up having Darby Allin attack and Ricky Starks attacks, and Taz is here, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff going on at the end.
Yeah, there's a rough alliance, it seems, between Taz's group and Kingston's group, which is cool.
And Taz and Kingston are from the same school and probably from, pretty close to the same blocks. And they have a lot to think they have in common.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like the loose alliance there. And
it'll break up violently, but it's going to be awesome when it does.
Right.
Absolutely. And up until then, it's cool.
And you can actually, you can put Kingston's a funny character because you can put him matches against what's the kid Jurassic Stunt. You can put him in a match with Marco Stunt and he can lose and it'll make sense.
Yeah.
You can put him in a match with Moxley and he can win and it'll make sense. And there's not a lot of guys you can do that with that are that peculiarly vulnerable and tough all at the same time.
It's what makes him a dynamic character.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And he can lose and he can do both those in the same night.
Yeah.
And he will justify both because when you give him a stick, he's good.
Absolutely. Another wrestler who I think fits into that mold where, depending on the matchup, it totally makes sense if he wins, loses, anything like that. If he's a good guy or a bad guy, Zack Sabre Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Where he can go into a match and, of course, dude, he can bend your favorite wrestler any way he wants and get a W. Or he could get rolled up, or he could just get hit.
Yeah.
He just get punched right in the mouth and go down.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense.
Right. Speaking of which, good segue. New Japan, what all have you seen? What all did you enjoy?
All right, so I watched basically all of New Japan's G1. There's been 4 nights so far. They changed the format a bit from last year where they don't really have, tag matches. Last year they'd have, tag matches, G1 matches, and then the next day they'd switch off who was doing the tags and
right.
singles.
The guys who are wrestling against each other tomorrow night
are in
tag matches tonight.
Yes.
Right. They don't need anybody to put. They don't really need anybody to put on the show for.
Yeah. They do have.
Oh, they do have
there
crowds.
Are people
I
there.
forgot they had crowds.
There are people there, and instead of doing that, and I actually much prefer this method, also because it probably does give the guys a break between, singles matches, where they're just having a Young Lion match, and then the block matches, and that's it. It's it's over 2.5 hours, perfectly condensed. By the way, the Young Lion matches are kind of off the chain this year. They're really going out there and giving it their all.
For those of you that don't know, that would be your developmental style.
Yeah,
they have a dojo system in which you the Young Lions, very Japanese,
they come out.
You earn your stripes to be on the main
absolutely.
roster type thing.
You go out there, black boots, black trunks, and you wrestle.
Work.
You understand,
work.
yeah,
Right.
you work. You go out there, you understand how to play the crowds, you understand what works, what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You hone your skills, and it is so rewarding to watch these guys grow.
Right.
And Yota Tsuji is looking amazing.
Awesome.
And it's kind of crazy, especially with these matches, where Young Lion matches are often pretty similar in the fact that it's just like these guys are trying to prove to the crowd that they have heart to compete.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so effective every single time, and especially with these. This is a fantastic crop of Young Lions, both in the U.S. with like Clark Connors, Alex Coughlin, the recently graduated from Young Lion, Carl Fredericks.
Right.
That group and Yota Tsuji, Yuya Uemura, they're just fantastic.
Right.
So don't skip those.
Okay.
They're usually like 8 minutes. They're pretty short, but they are good, and you'll see the next generation of talent. But getting into the matches that I would most recommend, from night one, I'd recommend Ishii Suzuki. That was okay. So Suzuki's 52-ish years old, and I kind of wasn't expecting him to work as rough of a match as this was. He works rough matches where he slaps people and they slap him back, but like this was a rough match.
Right.
It was awesome. Ishii's the GOAT, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
The G in G1 stands for GOAT Ishii.
Right. Right.
I'd recommend White Shingo, Jay White versus Shingo Takagi. Awesome. Just two great workers that I haven't seen have a match before. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Okada Ibushi was the main event. It was not up to par for their matches from last year and Wrestle Kingdom, but it was still worth watching. I would absolutely say that. For night two, I'd recommend Naito versus Tanahashi, which was the main event, which has been so far my match of the tournament. It was amazing.
I've heard it touted as a match of the year candidate.
Dude, yes. This is one of those matches where I can suspend my suspension of disbelief is really integral to it, because I am so invested in these characters and what they represent and their history. I kind of forget, especially as the match progresses, that I don't see like, oh, that was a cool move. I'm just like, oh man, Tana's on the ropes or Naito's on the ropes.
Right.
I kind of get completely involved in the reality of that match.
Right.
Which is so rewarding.
Right.
But this match was awesome. It
Right.
meant so much. It meant a lot in both of these guys' stories after their incredible matches that they've had at Wrestle Kingdoms and such.
Mm-hmm.
This was awesome.
Good
I
deal.
love this match, man. On night three, I'd recommend Jay White versus Ibushi. It wasn't near the level of their final from last year, because these were two finalists last year, and Ibushi would end up winning. I would absolutely recommend watching it though, because it was crazy, and I've never seen anyone other than Kenny take a Blade Runner, which is a move you're supposed to land flat on your head and chest, just like as flat as possible. I've never seen anyone take it on the top of their head. It is truly a unique talent that Ibushi has
Ibushi, though.
to land in the worst way possible.
Right.
That's Kota Ibushi, though. You
is,
expect that.
But again, Jay White works such a well-paced match. Jay White's just such a treat to watch. Literally, just any match with Jay White.
Like, you just see Kota Ibushi walk down the ramp. It's like, welp, he's gonna fall on his head.
If he trips, he is absolutely going to spike himself.
we watched that.
We watched it, yeah.
Yesterday afternoon, and I said to Ray, I said, I think Jay White might be my favorite wrestler in the world.
Dude, he is so good. He is already so good. And right. I actually think.
And that match didn't have a whole lot of shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gato stayed on the outside pretty much. He got up on the rope just once.
Just a little bit.
Right.
Which I would prefer more Jay White matches to just be like.
Right, because he's plenty good enough to tell the story, and he works body parts. He's an old school, stay on the ground wrestler.
Dude,
you know?
he's so good. And
right.
I think that's the stylistic change in pace is important, especially in New Japan.
Right.
Where the fact that he does work that style makes it so interesting.
Right, of course.
Especially against people like Ibushi, who do have the more flashy, more move-oriented
Absolutely.
Then night 4, which was the most recent one, I'd recommend Goto Sonata. I don't know exactly what I was expecting. I was maybe expecting these guys to not really quite mesh as well. But this ended up being probably my favorite Sonata match in recent memory, where I was like, man, Sonata actually looks like he is emotionally invested in this match. There are times when he looks really aloof in most of the match, so I'm just like, does this guy...
Does he care?
Does he care? Up until like the final stretch. But this match, he actually seemed like he was going after Goto.
He's got a little Orton to him.
Yes. Yeah, but just a little.
He can be as good as he feels like.
Yes. Goto's... You all pretty much have a baseline with Goto where it's always going to be good, but this was like a step up even for Goto. I mean, it was great.
Right. And he's at that point where it's more important the performance is more important than the path. Because he's probably not going up. So he needs to just keep building other people as he goes through matches.
And I mean, that's what I see Ishii and Goto both doing, where they're just like, they go out there and they're not going to be competing for the heavyweight title, really.
Right.
But they go out there and they have an incredible match. And they make the other guy look good, and it's just wicked entertaining to watch.
Right.
If you're new to New Japan, watch literally every Ishii match. They're all great.
Right.
Every single one.
Right.
If you go back last year, the year before, please just watch every Ishii match.
Right.
If I have any recommendation, that dude's going to put out a banger with literally everybody.
In a way, too, we talked about this yesterday. The champion in New Japan, because you do have these tournaments where everybody faces kind of everybody, the champion, you don't, in a way, to me anyway, you don't build yourself up to fight the champ, and that makes you a star by how the champion doesn't put over the roster as much. To me, Ishii, Goto, that level guy, you go in there and you prove your mettle with them, and that's what puts you over.
That's what happened. That's exactly what happened with Jay White, and why I like that Jay White Goto program so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because it ended up being that Goto gets the wins back, but Jay White looks incredible winning against Goto.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there is a lot of positive things to say about their setup and dynamics they have in New Japan. This is a match I actually wanted to give a special shout out to, because it was like 10 times better than I thought it was going to be. But Evil versus Yoshihashi was kind of a banger.
Really?
It was really good.
You said to me you thought that was one of the better matches Evil's had.
Yeah, dude, the dynamic in this match was that Evil's evil, right? He's part of Bullet Club. He does the whole cheating thing. I kind of hope they move that more towards him and away from Jay White, even though I don't love it in general. But if Evil's going to be like the cheating interference guy, that's...
Well, it makes Jay better.
It makes Jay better.
Right.
Which is a little more important in my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm biased. But with Evil being the cheating heel and Yoshihashi going into this role as the underdog babyface, dude, Yoshihashi was killing it this match.
He can work, man.
He can work.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget because he's a little goofy.
Yeah.
And he's been put in positions where he is the one to take the fall or take the pin, because that's kind of his role in the company, is the perennial underdog.
Right.
His whole shtick's like never give up and all that. And that it is compelling to watch him because you want him to succeed. And in a match like this, where he is in a lot of ways succeeding, even with the interference, it is awesome.
Right.
You really you just go there and you're just like, yes, Yoshihashi.
Right.
Get the dub over the former champion.
Right.
You want that to happen so bad. This match was great. I really went in because, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Evil, and it wasn't exactly Evil in this match that impressed me. But Yoshihashi, first-time champion after 12 years with the never six-man belts, and now he's getting matches like this where he's performing like this. Dude.
Awesome.
Goat.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's not go that far. Main event of that night was Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr., which kind of comes full circle for me in a lot of ways, because the match where I kind of got New Japan and I got what Naito was about was 2 years ago at the G1, which is when I started watching. I watched this matchup, Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr., and what intrigued me so much about it was Naito came to the ring and he does the thing where he really slowly undresses, and with Zack Sabre Jr., he's an impatient jerk. So he's literally throwing a fit ringside at Naito, and Naito's just like, hey, chill out, bud.
Yeah, I got to get ready.
Yeah, and then Naito finally gets all undressed, and the match kind of starts, and then, Naito does his frustrating thing where he won't lock up. And then Zack Sabre Jr. rolls out, and then Naito's like, "What are you doing? Come on!" He starts tapping his wrist, trying to go "Let's go, dude. We only have so much time." And Zack loses it.
Right.
That dynamic was just like, I was like, "Oh, okay. I get these characters. I get how this company tells stories
without ever seeing a promo."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And so this match was still awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
This match was great. I think it had some really creative and inventive spots. Zack Sabre Jr., like I said earlier, is one of those guys who has a different dynamic depending on the matchup he's in. He had a match earlier on night 2 against Evil, which was a pretty good match. But he was the babyface in that situation. Because Evil is the cheating heel, Zack Sabre Jr. is the babyface people were cheering for. But in this situation where Naito's beloved and Zack's just trying to get a title shot and prove himself by being the champion, he is the heel. Mm-hmm. I think that's really interesting.
Right.
I think that's so cool. But yeah, this match was awesome. This match had some crazy spots, had some really cool counters and stuff. Every time you watch a Zack Sabre Jr. match, you'll see something brand new. It was great.
Right.
I'm really happy with the tournament so far.
Cool. Now, how do we watch this tournament again? We tell them every time.
New Japan World.
NJPWworld.com. It's about $10 a month. If you're going to start watching, I recommend watching as soon as the month flips over because they charge you every month on the 1st. So if you do it now, you'll get charged for this month and then in a couple days for next month as well.
So it'll be $20.
Yeah. So just do it. I mean, it's worth it in my eyes. But just get your subscription as close to the early.
It's 26th as we're recording, so in 4 days you can get it and just watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The matches you've already ironed out for us.
Absolutely, and I didn't say any spoilers.
Right, awesome.
I was trying to avoid that. But
right,
man, this tournament's really shaping up.
Awesome. So that's a wrap.
Yes.
Great week of wrestling.
Great week of wrestling.
The full 24 hours you spent watching it.
Dude. After I got power and then internet back, all I did was watch wrestling the next day.
Yeah,
I had to get caught up.
We went through a hurricane. So, yeah.
I didn't have power for like 4 or 5 days. I didn't have internet for a couple days beyond that.
Right. I had a tree on my house.
It
was a weird week. A weird week, but we're back. Okay, for the Go Home Heat Kid Ray, for the New Japan Jared, for myself KP, this has been a Go Home Heat production, copyright 2020. Go home.